of intimidation and fear, of a gunman out for cash. A good girl gone bad. And a cop who refuses to give up. It is the tale of a global police manhunt, devoted to stopping this crime spree and bringing a violent couple to justice. Jurisdiction, the world. When crimes are committed, an international organization unites police officers to deliver justice. Interpol investigates. August 12th, 1997. Scottsdale, Arizona. 10:45 a.m. Business as usual at a local bank. And then... the gunman threatens to shoot anyone who touches the alarm. He orders the tellers to dump their cash drawers and hit the floor. It appears he plans to execute them. But instead, he flees with $32,000 in cash. The traumatized tellers wait for the car to peel away, then rush to lock up the bank and hit the alarm.
Yes. Attention all units, speed 5.
The nearest patrol officers take several minutes to arrive.
Okay, I'm on the way.
The call also reaches Detective Tom Van Meter of Scottsdale's Violent Crime Squad.
I remember running out of the station because it's every cop's dream to, get to a scene and catch somebody in progress.
But the gunman's already off and moving fast. He pulls into a parking lot to ditch the getaway car. He has it all worked out. To get the cops off his tail, he creates a distraction. If he can't outrun the police, he can at least slow them down. Buying a chance to disappear behind a ball of flame and confusion. Emergency operators dispatch firefighters and more police units to the inferno, leaving fewer officers to inspect the crime scene. It's a lot for the suburban Phoenix police force to handle at once.
Scottsdale is kind of a small community in the south end of town. Don't have that many patrol units can respond to each individual call.
When the first officer arrives at the bank, the rattled employees give an account of the robbery. The thief wore a stocking, so the victims can describe only his clothes and vague physical features. Not much to go on, but police spread the word. The description matches a man seen at the car fire. A white male, athletic build, light brown hair, wearing a white shirt and jeans. At the time, Phoenix police have a chopper in the air. It speeds to Scottsdale to aid the search efforts. From their bird's eye view, the pilots spot a dark-colored sedan racing away from the area of the car fire. Helicopter pilot Officer Larry Hallis follows, keeping a safe distance to avoid notice.
We were trying to be as surreptitious as possible in following this vehicle because we didn't want him to know that we knew where he was at, and we were trying to stay behind him.
But he can't go unnoticed for long, and he can't call Scottsdale police directly. He has to relay his location through dispatch. Every second, he risks being spotted.
The Scottsdale Police Department had an entirely different radio system than Phoenix Police Department, which caused a little bit of a problem with regards to getting timely information to their units on the ground.
The delay proves too long to remain undetected. The suspect erratically changes direction, trying to ditch the surveillance.
It went east for a while and then back west. And I think perhaps being aware of our presence, that the driver might have tried to determine if in fact that we were tracking him.
Still, they stick with him, radioing positions, until the car slips into a shopping mall.
Unfortunately, by that time, the vehicle had gone into a parking garage and had gone out of our sight.
All the while, Detective Van Meter coordinates the frenzy of police activity on the ground.
We had to do a multitude of things at once, and it had to go quickly. I had units responding to the bank. I had units going to the fire scene to tell me about the car that's on fire. And then the FBI joins me at the mall, and then we start the joint investigation in regards to locating him.
In the mall garage, officers find the car the helicopter pilots trailed. They're not sure if it has any connection to the fire and robbery until they check inside.
You could see in the right front passenger seat that there was a backpack which had a lot of currency that was hanging out of the backpack. You could also see a pantyhose that was laying on top of the money.
It's the right car, but no sign of the robber or his weapon. He might have slipped into the mall or had a third vehicle planted in the garage. In other words, he could be anywhere.
It was pretty chaotic. We had Scottsdale Police Department, we had Phoenix Police Department join us, we had the FBI show up, and we had internal security at the mall.
The mall covers a 4-block area, 200 stores, thousands of shoppers. And police have only a vague description to go on. That and the car. But the robber keeps changing his look. Detective Van Meter learns this guy did his homework. He finds a receipt for a police scanner.
He was monitoring our radio traffic, so he heard us chasing him.
Which means he knew about the chopper. But maybe he didn't count on it. Maybe it caused him to make a mistake. That could explain why he left the loot behind. Even better, inside the car, Van Meter makes another startling find. A wallet. Inside, ID for a man named Craig Pritchard. It only raises more questions. Does the wallet belong to the suspect, or did he leave it as a decoy to throw investigators off his scent? Police have no idea, but they're about to find out. They run Craig Pritchard's name through the criminal database.
I directed other detectives to start doing a series of criminal checks to find out, am I looking for a person who's a first-time bank robber? Am I looking for somebody who's a wanted, dangerous criminal that is now somewhere around the garage area, possibly into the mall itself?
Whoever he is, he's armed. Security alerts all stores to be on the lookout. Employees at a men's clothing shop call in the first sighting. A customer has just bought new clothes there and left his old ones behind. The discarded items match the suspect's original description. More time ticks by as police prepare an updated description that must go out to multiple law enforcement agencies and every store in the mall.
We have a wanted fugitive, described as a white male, at 180 pounds, 5'10".
Detective Van Meter coordinates from the parking garage. It sounds crazy, but he feels confident the thief will return to his car.
I personally stayed with the car. In the past, I've had people circle the area than actually come back to their vehicle and get away.
But the guy is a chameleon. Van Meter learns the suspect changed clothes again. This is no first-time criminal.
He's thinking, so he's not panicked. He's thinking, what do I do now? How do I get out of this? And he starts changing clothes. Well, somebody's going to see me do this. I'll do it again. You know, for a bank robber to change clothes 3 times, pretty good.
Suspect description.
At last, the ID check on the wallet comes through. Craig Michael Pritchard has served time for bank robbery. Their man has a history of violent heists. They've seen the heist. They don't want to see the violence. In a shopping mall full of people, cornering Pritchard could spell disaster.
Worst case scenario is that we would confront him and he would try and harm as many of us that he could, being police officers, or take a hostage to try and get away, and some innocent person would get hurt or killed.
But confronting Craig Pritchard won't happen soon. Van Meter and his officers have to find him first. On August 12th, 1997, Craig Pritchard walks into an Arizona bank, whips out a pistol, and walks out with $32,000 cash. Police track him to a nearby mall, but Pritchard disappears. Detective Tom Van Meter locks down the site, but fears for the customers inside.
We knew he was armed, we knew he was dangerous, we knew about his criminal past as far as bank robberies and his violence potential.
Police swarm the area but find nothing. After a frantic 6-hour search, Van Meter calls his investigators in. Somehow, Craig Pritchard slipped past him. The hunt shifts to a measured investigation of Craig Pritchard's life. They start with his last known address, an apartment in Scottsdale.
On the rental application, there was 2 people in the apartment, being Craig and his girlfriend. Contacted her at work. She came home. I spoke to her, identified myself, told her why we were there, told her we were in a hurry, we didn't have time to play games, and it was we need to find Craig Michael Pritchard before he hurts anybody.
The girlfriend knew Craig had a record, but swears she had no idea he planned to hit the bank in Scottsdale. She says he called her earlier that day. He sounded upset and said he could never see her again. Now she knows why.
And then we get the basic information from her, who he is, where he is, family, friends, relatives in the area. And then we send other people out to his mom and dad's house, his dad's business, his sister's house. So we start watching those places thinking, how is he going to get out of here? How is he going to leave town?
Police turned to the public for help.
We tried to get as much news coverage as we could on it in regards to putting his face on the news.
That evening, the story leads the local news.
Police believe the man is known as Craig Pritchard. He is considered armed and dangerous.
It pays off. Employees at a bar near the mall recognize the photo of Pritchard. They call the police.
I went over and spoke to those individuals, learned that a subject did come in right after the bank robbery.
They say Pritchard had a few drinks, made a couple of phone calls, and calmly watched the dragnet outside.
They said he continuously looked out the window as the patrol units had the mall surrounded.
After a few hours, he left carrying a large bag. Police figure he called someone for a ride and fled the area without anyone taking notice. With Pritchard on the run, police have to figure out where to start looking. They need to know more about Pritchard's background. They don't have to look far.
Fellow officers, including the assistant chief, had actually gone to school with Craig Pritchard. So I was getting all the stories, all the background information. It was actually helping me.
Pritchard was a star baseball player in both high school and college. He even had a shot at the majors, until a new man named Barry Bonds joined the team. Outshined and disillusioned, he quit college and eventually left his wife and kids. Assistant U.S. Attorney Michael Kemp.
Craig Pritchard seemed to have a lot of things going for him in the world. For some reason, he began to rob banks.
Pritchard served 5 years at the Federal Detention Center in Arizona for armed bank robbery until his release in June 1996. Once out, it took him just over a year to resume his bad habit. Maybe he was planning his comeback all along.
Normally there's an underlying problem, either substance abuse or gambling. In this case, we don't see a lot of evidence of any of those things with Craig Pritchard. So it's really kind of a mystery why he became a bank robber, other than it's an easy way to get a lot of money.
Investigators check hotels, rental cars, anything to find a lead. The FBI works with the Scottsdale police because bank robbery is a federal crime.
Since the FBI was involved, there was a nationwide bulletin that went out giving a brief description of the robbery, photographs of Craig Michael Pritchard, and a description of him.
Authorities arrested Pritchard for his first robbery as he boarded a flight for Australia. They alert all border crossings and international airports.
We needed to pull all stops out to try and find him quickly, because we felt that he's not going to go find a real job. He's going to go out and do exactly what he did before.
And he'll just get better at it, especially with help. Within a few weeks, Pritchard arrives in New Mexico. In a bar, he meets an ambitious salesman. The two strike up a conversation, and the man introduces him to his sister, Nova Guthrie. She and Pritchard hit it off. Nova grew up in a conservative religious home. Fresh out of college, she's looking for adventure. And with Craig Pritchard, she gets more than she bargained for. Halloween, 1997. Durango, Colorado. It's 4:30 p.m., and the bank tellers start closing up for the day. Before they lock up, they switch off the surveillance video. And Pritchard makes his move. He bypasses the cash drawers, where the marked bills are kept. He orders the tellers to head to the vault. And fill his bag with large bills. Pritchard keeps in constant contact with his new accomplice. Outside, Nova keeps watch. Again, Pritchard threatens to kill everyone in the bank if they resist, and he orders them to lie face down. But this time, he binds them with plastic zip ties. In an instant, it's over.
Go, 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 go. Step on it, let's go.
The bandits make off with more than $64,000 in a matter of minutes. Twice they take up the Scottsdale hit, and with the addition of a driver, a smoother escape. Once the tellers finally free themselves and hit the alarm, Durango police rush to the scene. Not knowing the situation, they take up positions outside in case the gunman's holding hostages. Durango Police Detective Tom Boyce.
Well, the initial concern is their safety. Are the robbers still in the bank? Is there still a threat to the employees or any other citizens in that immediate area?
Dispatch calls the bank to send one employee out.
Sir, it's the FBI. Hands on top of your head.
When the teller assures them the gunman's gone and taken no hostages, the investigation begins. Police learned the gunman came in just as the surveillance cameras went off. Certainly no coincidence. He wore a mask. Easy to get away with on Halloween. And he wasn't alone. He had a getaway driver and lookout.
The teller did overhear some radio traffic, a voice come over that radio saying that there was someone outside walking by.
He left virtually no clues, nothing to ID the gunman.
The flex ties used to bind the victim's wrists and ankles were left behind. Some coins and maybe a few single bills of currency were left behind. The door was standing open on that vault. That's essentially it. For the most part, a very clean scene.
Detective Boyce knows he's after pros.
It was very well planned. It showed surveillance was done prior to the robbery by the suspects. They knew the layout of the bank, they knew the bank's hours, and I think it was pretty obvious that they hit it right at closing time.
Police turn up a witness who describes the suspect jumping into a car driven by a woman with short, dark hair. But he didn't get the license plate. Nothing solid to follow up on. FBI bank squads regularly share information on unsolved cases. Scottsdale's suspect, Craig Pritchard, fits the general description of the Durango robber, right down to his aggressive style. Then, 5 months later, another holiday, another heist.
On March 17th of 1998, another robbery occurred in Aztec, New Mexico, which is about 38 to 40 miles south of Durango. That robbery occurred on St. Patrick's Day.
It's like Durango all over again. A masked gunman empties the vault and binds the tellers with plastic zip ties. During the robbery, he speaks with his lookout and getaway driver through a radio. The general description fits Craig Pritchard. That gives police something to go on. Pritchard likes to ditch his cars to throw off eyewitnesses, so investigators follow a hunch.
We decided to go ahead and check our tow records. I did find that one of our patrol officers had, in fact, towed a vehicle from a city parking lot, which is about a block further south from where our bank was located.
Agents use the vehicle identification number, or VIN, to track down the original owner. He explains he recently sold the car to a woman named Nova Guthrie and her boyfriend. Police learn Guthrie's family lives nearby. They tell investigators that they haven't heard from her or her boyfriend in months. Now authorities have two suspects. When Nova Guthrie calls to check in with her family, she learns the FBI had come calling, asking difficult questions.
What? The FBI? The FBI?
It's time to move fast. The couple the press will call the modern-day Bonnie and Clyde take off in search of a new home base and a new target. The FBI and police across the western U.S. seek Craig Pritchard and Nova Guthrie for a series of armed bank robberies. The press dubs them the modern-day Bonnie and Clyde, romanticizing the couple's crime spree. It is a sentiment Detective Van Meter does not share.
When people come in and point a gun at your head, tell you to lay on the ground, they start swearing and yelling and cussing at you. You don't know at that immediate moment, 2 seconds later, you know, the light's gonna go out, it's gonna be all over with.
Craig Pritchard is no folk hero. He is a dangerous criminal. But the media's portrayal of Pritchard as charismatic rogue tells only half the story. After a failed bid at professional baseball, Pritchard abandons his wife and 3 kids and commits a series of armed robberies. He gets caught, does time, and emerges owing almost $100,000 in child support. His accomplice, Nova Guthrie, lives a privileged life as a college student and plans for a career as a pediatrician. But after graduation, she meets Pritchard and falls in love. Seduced by the outlaw life, she abandons any plans of a career and her conservative religious upbringing. Pritchard's no typical bank robber.
Craig Pritchard did his homework. This guy's methodical, he knows what he's doing.
And his type has a name. He's a takeover robber, the most dangerous kind. Most bank robbers quietly hand a teller a note, run off with a few thousand, and get caught quickly. Not Pritchard. He boldly takes control of the entire bank, threatening with his gun. With takeover robbers, there is always the threat the robbery will end in bloodshed. And Tom Van Meter knows it's just a matter of time before somebody gets killed. He won't give up.
I would run 50 state driver's license checks on him every 6 months. I would check under his children's name. I would check under family members' names. It's kind of a personal vendetta that I will find him. I don't care what it takes. I don't care how long it takes.
But the two stay under police radar until they run out of cash and decide to strike again. This time in the Pacific Northwest. The employees of a small bank in Bend, Oregon have no idea that trouble just blew into town. Branch manager Bill Olson.
Thank you. It wasn't any different than any other Friday night activity at the branch.
Until closing time.
About 2 minutes to 6 that evening, I went to the front door to lock the door as I did typically.
And his typical day ended right there.
He was yelling, very hostile. He would kill us, blow our heads off if in fact alarm was set.
Particularly the silent alarm, which instantly alerts the police.
He had with him a police scanner, and he was monitoring it, and he told us if an alarm was set, that he would know it.
The employees are trained to comply fully, trained to survive.
It's not worth it to be a hero or in any way try to stop the robbery. You know, you become very compliant, and you do what they tell you to do.
When the zip ties come out, Olson relies on another sort of training.
When I was a young child, I'd watched a show, and I believe it was Guy King on Saturday morning, and in it, it was one of the tricks they taught you. If you were to be tied up, you placed your wrists in a certain angle, so when the straps or the rope is tied, all you need to do is rotate your wrists and your hands can come free.
Hurry up, lady, I ain't got all day.
The gunman orders one teller to open the vault and fill his bag with large bills.
He demanded the money only from the vault. He told us, I don't want any money from the teller drawer, knowing that that's marked, knowing that there's silent alarms that can be tripped.
The assailant is aggressive with his gun.
He would, from time to time, point to the other two to keep them in line, I guess, but he'd always bring it back to my head. We were kneeling in the vault area, not knowing what could happen. If he would shoot all three of us, he'd shoot any of us.
The scanner crackles, but no calls of a bank robbery.
The whole time, because of my proximity to him, I could hear the background noise of the police and the different calls that were going out.
Get on the ground, face down, put your hands behind your back. Seconds, lady. You got that? You got that?
One last threat of death, and then he unlocks the door and vanishes. Olson's Sky King escape plan works, and he quickly frees himself.
Get the door, I'll be right back.
He spots a light-colored car speeding away, but can't get a plate number.
Can you get your legs? Okay. We were fortunate that we weren't hurt. It could have gone just as bad the other way had something occurred over his monitoring device that he felt threatened. I truly believe he could have just as easily shot all three of us.
Police determine the robber nabbed more than $120,000. They find no usable evidence, no fingerprints, no real description. Bend Police Detective Sergeant Kurt Custer.
All the things, the wearing the gloves, the concealment of his identity, the radio that he was wearing, it tells you that this is an experienced bank robber. This is not the first time this person robbed a bank.
Only a pro hits this clean. A home run.
So you start, turning over every rock and stone you can, hoping that you'll get a break that'll identify your suspect.
Despite an intense investigation, they get nowhere, reaching a frustrating dead end.
Your fear is that he continues to rob banks and eventually an innocent person gets hurt, and you don't want that to happen. That's your worst fear.
The general description of the Bend assailant does fit Craig Pritchard. whom Van Meter's been chasing for 2 years.
That is the only case file that I never took off my desk. It was always on the corner of my desk. I would always look at it. I'd work other cases, but when I had a free moment, I would always come back. What didn't I do right? What could I do more?
Van Meter can do nothing else. To capture Craig Pritchert and Nova Guthrie, he'll have to wait and hope for a break. But he never expects the break he needs will walk through the door. Craig Pritchert and Nova Guthrie have eluded police for nearly 2 years. They are suspected of a string of 4 bank robberies totaling over $250,000 in cash. Then, a strange turn of events. On March 2nd, 1999, a chaplain walks into the FBI's Denver field office with a surprise visitor. Nova Guthrie, the Bonnie to Craig Pritchert's Clyde, has had a change of heart. Her family has convinced her to talk with their pastor, who persuades her to surrender. She agrees to help police and the FBI, though she claims she doesn't know where to find Pritchard. But she does reveal in detail how they pulled off the robberies in Colorado, New Mexico, and Oregon. They'd start by renting an apartment within sight of the target bank. They'd buy used supplies, like radios, a scanner, and masks through want ads in the paper. Cash transactions with no receipts. Pritchard would spend weeks planning each hit. Detective Kurt Custer.
He used that time to surveil the bank, opening client times, closing times, the layout of the bank, where he wanted his getaway driver to park. He knows where the vault is, where the employees are likely to be. When employees come, when they are locking up, what times they're going home.
They'd buy cheap used cars. Stealing one might draw the cops' attention. They couldn't risk it. During the robberies, Nova kept watch and drove getaway. They'd move fast, systematically, to stay ahead of the police. After each heist, they'd look for marked bills, die packs, or tracking devices. They'd dump the car and burn all the gear. And then, they'd get another car and split, heading across state borders or to the airport. They'd always travel separately to be safer, contacting each other through payphones and free email accounts. Cash bought fake IDs and passports, so they bounced around the globe, to Canada, Europe, Central America, never staying in one place for long. Guthrie agrees to testify against Pritchard, so the FBI releases her to the care of her family in Wyoming. The move surprises Arizona prosecutor Michael Kemp.
My thinking would be that the authorities believe that since she voluntarily came in to cooperate and assist the authorities, that she would not flee if she was released.
But no one understands how tight a hold Craig Pritchard has on her. Authorities dash to the Bend, Oregon townhouse Guthrie and Pritchard used to stage the most recent robbery. According to Guthrie, they moved out prior to the heist, but police want to process the place before it's rented.
Because it's not just good enough to have somebody saying that this person, a particular person, did it. You have to be able to confirm that information.
In the fireplace, they discover burned plastic zip ties and melted latex, the material used for masks. Throughout the place, they lift dozens of fingerprints, including the ones they need.
We located latent prints, which the Oregon State Police Crime Lab positively identified as belonging to Craig Pritchard, which was huge.
The prints confirm Guthrie's confession, but bring them no closer to finding Pritchard. The FBI and police send information on Pritchard to police departments across the country. And based on Guthrie's confession, they may have to expand the search internationally.
We need to pool and use all the resources we can. This is a team effort, team game, and that's the way you have to play to be successful.
Pritchard could be anywhere in the world by now.
He's on this map somewhere, and it's my job to find him.
But the investigators are in for a surprise, courtesy of Nova Guthrie.
This is Trooper James Johnson, Interpol, once again.
Suddenly, one day, she didn't show up for work, and they found her truck up on the highway, and she was gone. In the interview with her originally, she told us that she had been in contact with Craig over the internet. So we felt that she would go back to the internet, try and hook up with Craig again, and we feel that that's exactly what she did.
The fugitive couple reunites, and they're back on the lam. Interpol moves fast, putting the pressure of an international manhunt on the two. But former head of Interpol US, John Imhoff, knows that kind of stress can lead to panic.
It was just a matter of time before he was going to commit murder. Somebody was going to stand up to him. He was going to go into a bank where the security guard would draw his gun, and then Craig Pritchert would have to kill.
But first, Pritchard will have to run far. He can't stick around the US, with dozens of law enforcement agencies searching for him.
That's a lot of people to have on your tail. When he leaves the country, he knows that he's made the game much more difficult for them.
But Interpol levels the playing field, sending fugitive notices worldwide. Nova Scotia, Canada seems like a safe place to hide, but photos of Craig Pritchard and Nova Guthrie circulate the globe. At a hockey game, an off-duty police officer spots the fugitives. He knows it's too dangerous to approach them alone and goes for help. But Pritchard and Guthrie have been on the run for years. They can sense when to disappear, and they know how to do it. By the time backup arrives, the couple has vanished.
We had a number of tips and leads, but we were always just a little bit behind them.
Sometimes they travel together, then split up for a while. Investigators try to track the pair's online activities, but the fugitives are too smart to leave much of a trail.
Changing identities, changing locations, both within the United States, outside of the United States. Somebody, he knows to change identity that often, they're hard to track.
The twosome outwit the police at every turn, staying just beyond reach. But investigators are about to turn up the heat, making the world a very small place for Nova Guthrie and Craig Pritchard. Suspected in 4 bank robberies, Craig Pritchard has been on the run for over 2 years. Detective Tom Van Meter plays a long shot and turns to a popular Crime Stoppers TV program. He hopes friends and family members might inspire contact.
When we put the segment on, we put his ex-wife on so he would see her. We actually put his children on, throwing a baseball to try and entice him. And we had a chat line set up, hoping that he might actually call the chat line, saying something to us, and then we could trace that.
The fugitive doesn't take the psychological bait. Still, police hope the program and subsequent campaign will produce a new lead on Pritchard and his accomplice, Nova Guthrie.
We put out over 50,000 flyers through the United States Postal Service, and we had their pictures in the post office.
In August 2003, the tactic pays off. A South African national on holiday in the US spots one of the flyers, recognizes the fugitives' faces, and contacts the FBI. He knows Guthrie as Andy, the manager of a popular nightclub in Cape Town. Pritchard visits the club often and goes by the name Dane. The witness says the club's website has photos of employees featuring its manager.
Pulling up that internet site, we pulled it up. Immediately saw the picture of Craig's accomplice. Compared those, there was no doubt that it was her.
Van Meter now understands why the TV program didn't reach Pritchard. Interpol's John Imhoff is not surprised the couple settled in South Africa.
When Craig Pritchard chose South Africa as his destination for safe harbor, he was looking at the fact that South Africa has a large expatriate population. He's familiar with the language. And whatever false identification he might derive to help him blend in would be less readily recognized as false documentation.
Interpol US and the FBI get to work. They contact authorities in Cape Town, South Africa, who are eager to help out.
Cops are cops, and when you've got a bank robber who's hiding out in your country that's wanted in another country, politics aside, you're going to do what's right to bring that guy to justice.
The South African Interpol office must move fast, and they must be discreet. South African Interpol's Nilton Mendez.
We know that the world is very big. Today they are here in South Africa, tomorrow they may be somewhere else. And in terms of changing identities or obtaining false passports or documents, it's very easy. So we don't want to cause or to act in such a way that we may lose them.
Cape Town police, accompanied by FBI agents, set up surveillance at the nightclub, hoping to spot the couple. They don't wait long before they find what they came for. Detective Inspector Dietmar Kieberger sees a woman who matches Guthrie's description and spots a distinctive tattoo of a sun on her back.
I had the FBI agent with me at the time, and asked me to contact the FBI office in the United States to verify whether this person had a tattoo.
She does, and it verifies her identity. They have found Nova Guthrie. Cape Town police now hope she will lead them to Pritchard. And she does, right to the Cape Town apartment she shares with him. Now they have to determine how to capture the two and not get hurt in the process.
Yep. Many people, like animals when cornered, do become more dangerous the more dire their circumstances become. The level of danger associated with that desperation has to escalate.
Investigators take their time, watching for several days, learning the couple's routine, so they can take down the pair when they're most vulnerable. Nova and Craig follow a pattern designed to expose any police surveillance. For instance, whenever Guthrie heads home from work, she always calls Craig.
She would notify him that she's coming through, and then he would go to the balcony and have a look, right, whether she's been followed.
Despite the couple's anti-surveillance plan, Cape Town police watch them undetected. Confident they've learned all they can, the police prepare to sweep in. A tactical arrest team plans the takedown. They'll strike when they know the couple is at home and relaxed watching TV. Pritchard will be desperate and possibly armed. They have to assume he's ready to kill to keep his freedom.
You're on edge, you're hyped up. Anything can happen. It could be a nasty takedown, it could be an easy takedown.
You make sure that when your arrest goes down, the element of surprise is on your side.
And it works. Pritchard is caught off guard.
I came in and briefed them that they were wanted by the United States, armed robberies, and I called them by their birth names, Craig and Nova, and not by their alias that they had been using. They responded to those names, so that confirmed once again that we had the right people.
After 2 weeks of tracking Craig Pritchard, Cape Town police finally arrest him and his accomplice Nova Guthrie without incident, thanks to the coordination of Interpol. Head of extradition at Interpol South Africa is Detective Captain Nilton Mendez.
We're trying to make the world now a smaller place for the fugitives on the run to see that, well, you can try to run, but someday or sometime you're gonna get caught.
For 6 years, Tom Van Meter has waited for this day. Now he has to get the fugitives back to the U.S.
We made sure that all of the paperwork was completed, ready to go, so that we could get the extradition process done quickly, quietly, to get them out of South Africa as quick as we could.
Pritchard remains in custody in South Africa until U.S. Marshals arrive to bring the fugitive home. For Pritchard, it was all about the money, but Guthrie had something more personal at stake. On the 20-hour flight back to the U.S., Nova Guthrie opens up to Deputy U.S. Marshal Brenda McLaughlin.
I was just there for transport. I wasn't trying to get information out of her, but she just said that she realized that she had made a mistake and that she had done something wrong, but that she would do it all over again to be with Pritchard.
Nova Guthrie pleads guilty to multiple robberies and is sentenced to 10 years in prison. The mastermind of the operation, Craig Pritchert, also pleads guilty and earns 22.5 years. He's ordered to pay over $200,000 in restitution to the banks.
We did find him, we've got him, everybody's okay. It's just a personal thing that once you get into investigations and you start investigating violent crimes against people, it's not how much I want to catch them, it's how much I want the satisfaction I get from telling the victims, I finally caught him for you. And now he's gonna go away, he's not gonna hurt anybody else. Those days are over.
Police suspect Craig Pritchard robbed as many as a dozen banks across the U.S., taking hundreds of thousands of dollars at gunpoint. His violent crime spree spread terror across the western U.S., but because of Interpol and police around the world, Craig Pritchard will spend the next 2 decades of his life behind bars.